I am joined today by Senator John Bison, Senator Adam Olier, Representative Sarah Anthony, Representative Andrea Schroeder, Lara Director Orlean Hawks, DMVA, that's the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs Director Zaneta Adams, our Adjutant General and Director of Military and Veterans Affairs Paul Rogers, and Lieutenant Colonel Karen Sims. Yesterday, nearly 8 months after the first cases of COVID-19 were discovered in Michigan, Pfizer announced that an early analysis showed that their vaccine is 90% effective. This is great news. This is great news for our families, for our frontline workers, for our small business owners. Michigan has always been on the forefront of innovation. In fact, we have a strong history of vaccine development with polio and anthrax vaccines. And we're thrilled to see Pfizer, a Michigan business and one of the largest pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities in the world, will manufacture that vaccine right here in our great state. But I want to just a note of caution, this news does not mean that we can drop our guard now and relax or loosen restrictions that we've made in our daily lives to stay safe. Actually, it's more important than ever that we double down on wearing a mask, physical distancing, washing our hands, especially as we gear up for what is going to be a challenging winter. It's crucial that we keep our infection rate low so that we can distribute the vaccine as quickly as possible when it is ready. So, the advent of a vaccine is good news, but we need to keep our rates low so that we can be in a position to make sure people can benefit from this vaccine when it is available. We got to remember that when it is ready, it will take some time to manufacture, to scale, to distribute. And that's why we need everyone across our state to keep doing their part to protect each other from COVID-19. My administration is working on developing equitable vaccine allocation plans and process so that we provide the vaccine in a priority system that makes sense to the most vulnerable and at-risk populations, working, of course, with the CDC. Now, I was happy to see yesterday that President-elect Biden announced a team of medical experts to lead our country's COVID-19 response. It is crucial that leaders from across the country listen to science, listen to the recommendations of our public health and epidemiology experts, and President-elect Biden has made it clear that he believes and shares that commitment. I look forward to working closely with him and medical experts everywhere to fight this virus and to save lives. So tomorrow is Veterans Day, and I am here with a bipartisan group of leaders from across our state to announce crucial legislation to help our veterans and their families. Our military members put their lives on the line for our families, and we as leaders have a duty to ensure that those military families have the support they need, especially when our military members return home. And that means ensuring a great education and paths to good jobs so they can sustain their families. Today's legislation that we are talking about will do just that. This bipartisan legislation will support military personnel, veterans, and their families by reducing barriers to professional licensure. It will mean that veterans and service members and family members that have a professional license in a different state can become licensed here in Michigan without having to jump through a bunch of hoops. A number of the speakers here today are veterans, and they can tell you firsthand the challenges that our service members face when transitioning to civilian life. This legislation will make it easier for them and their family members, including their spouses and children, to obtain a professional license here in Michigan and build a good life in our state. Not only is this legislation important for our service members and their families, but it's really important for Michigan businesses too, businesses that are looking to connect with talent. When this legislation is passed, it will help our small business owners find the talent they need so that they can thrive in communities all across Michigan. It will help our economy by ensuring paths to good jobs and continued education for more people in our state. And it will help the brave men and women who have served our state build a good life for themselves. And while we recognize these brave men and women on Veterans Day tomorrow, we also need to renew our support and commitment to providing year-round support for veterans and their families. And I know that everyone here shares that goal. Tomorrow morning, I'll be visiting the new construction at the Veterans Home in Chesterfield Township. Our veterans' homes provide crucial long-term care for our veterans and their families, ensuring that they have access to quality, affordable health care, including mental health services, addiction services, and counseling when they return home remains a top priority for my administration. And I look forward to working with everyone here today and partners across the state to ensure support for that. As Commander-in-Chief of the Michigan National Guard, I want to thank all of the brave men and women who have put their lives on the line for others in this state. Whether you have served overseas on behalf of our nation or across the country or right here in Michigan, your work ensures the safety of Michigan families everywhere. And I want to thank our guardsmen and women who have worked around the clock to ensure COVID-19 testing happens in communities across Michigan. Our Guard members have helped distribute more than 14 million pounds of food at food banks, delivered tests and protective equipment across the state, and assisted with testing of more than 200,000 Michiganders for COVID-19. In May, when the Edenville and Sanford dams were breached, over 130 members of the Michigan National Guard arrived on the scene within hours of being called to assist, and they helped neighbors who were facing historic flooding. This crucial work has saved thousands of lives and will continue to save lives as we keep fighting this pandemic. We must all remember that this crisis is not over, and we must all continue working hard to protect one another from this virus. So to all of you watching from home, please remember to do your part by wearing a mask, practicing safe physical distancing, and washing your hands frequently. Please be smart and be safe. And with that, I'd like to invite Senator Bison to address you.
Thank you, Governor. And thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I am Senator John Bison. I'm a medical doctor who has been a doctor for over 40 years now, but also I am a military veteran. Was in the Air Force for a number of years with duty stations both in the country and out of the country. We find that the legislation that I'm going to be offering will expand fee waivers for the Public Health Code for current military members on active duty as well as TDY status for veterans and their spouses and their dependents. Currently, veterans are eligible for initial licensing, registration, and application fees under the Occupational Code and Skilled Trades Registration Act. But the act that I have will be Senate Bill 1222, and it will expand that to include medical personnel. The statute changes the Public Health Code that would allow current military veterans and their spouses and dependents as well to be eligible for these fee waivers when applying for licensure in occupations regulated under the Public Health Code. We have a paucity of doctors here within the state. We can always use more doctors, more nurses, more technicians, and this hopefully will attract people who are very well qualified, who have had years of experience doing these things back here to our state. With these bills, we are helping our veterans and military families by removing the government red tape, preventing them from continuing their careers here in Michigan. Military spouses and professions that require licensure, as most of the medical professions will be left, can be left jobless with a sudden move to a new state, and we hope to minimize that trauma of those moves. These bills would help ease the transition and financial burdens by allowing military family members to pick up their careers and start over in Michigan without unnecessary delay. And so I am looking forward to being their sponsor of these bills. And behind me, I have Senator Adam Olier, who is going to talk to you next.
Good afternoon. My name is Adam Moulier. I represent the 2nd Senate District, and I'm currently a first lieutenant in the Army Reserve. This is a very personal issue for me. My wife is a clinical psychologist. If I were on active duty, she wouldn't be able to continue to do her job and take care of the patients that she's worked so hard for. I've got good friends who this is all too common. One of my very best friends is a captain. He does the same thing I do on active duty. He's a civil affairs officer. His wife has had to take the professional license exam in 4 different states on 5 different moves. And this last time has just decided that it wasn't worth it. It's unacceptable that the people who give so much, and when I talk about the people who are giving so much, it's our spouses and the dependents. Those are the people that have to move with service members. When I serve, I go to where I'm supposed to go, and my family stays home with their family and their support network. But if you're on active duty, you travel, and you travel every couple of years, and what we have seen is that military spouses and dependents can't continue to keep and maintain the employment that they have, and that's got to change. It's going to change with this legislation because we're going to make it easier for them to keep their license because they're licensed in another state and can move those things over. That's what we've got to do. We've got to make sure that the people who take care of those that we value the most are taken care of. This is going to make Michigan a real leader in this, and it's going to make sure that our service members and their families are protected going forward, something that we haven't done nearly a good enough job of doing. And that's to include more than just the spouses and the service members, but also their children. And when we talk about children, they are often the ones that are hit the hardest by family moves and by their parents being gone. And so I'm really excited that as a state, we are finally going to make military families a priority. So I'm excited about being able to introduce Senate Bill 1223 and looking forward to getting this bill to the governor for a quick signature. And I will be followed by Representative Sarah Anthony.
Well, hello, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Sarah Anthony. I proudly serve as state representative for the 68th House District, which includes the city of Lansing and Lansing Township. You know, I'm so honored to be here on the eve of Veterans Day as a sponsor in this bipartisan, bicameral package supporting members of the military. Thank you to Governor Whitmer for her leadership and to my colleagues for this collaboration. You know, every year around this time, we pause to honor the service and sacrifices made by active military veterans, and their families. And for those of us who have never served in the military, we have only seen a glimpse of the courage and perseverance it takes to serve in the armed forces. But we can all understand the value of hard work, the meaning of family, and the strength it takes to weather the storm together, no matter where life takes you. The sad reality is that despite all that they have put forth on the line for us, 70% of veterans report significant difficulty finding a job and transitioning to civilian life. Because of the transitive nature of military life, service members and their spouses are required to move on average once every 3 years. One of the biggest challenges these individuals face is occupational licensing regulations, required for a variety of professions. We're talking about engineering and architecture and cosmetology. This legislation would make it easier for military members, veterans, and their spouses to secure good-paying, steady jobs right here in our great state. You know, in 2020, when we seem to be more divided than ever, I think that we should all be reminded that Michigan has always been a state that rallies behind the people who built it. I love the fact that today, this is a signal that we can spend less time grabbing headlines and more time really making headway into the issues that matter most to working families. You know, during my career as a legislative staffer, as a county commissioner, as a strategic thought partner with the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, I have witnessed firsthand how, you know, there's a sad reality that burdensome regulation can often interfere in making sure that residents get the services that they expect and deserve. And so as elected officials, I know that we can and will do everything we can to tear down bureaucratic red tape and ensure that our state government works for all people, including those who have sacrificed so much on our behalf. So thank you again for the opportunity. May God bless and keep you, and may God protect our men and women in uniform. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm State Representative Andrea Schroeder, and I represent the 43rd District in North Oakland County. And I am the daughter of former U.S. Army Captain Bruce McIntosh and Second Lieutenant Martha McIntosh. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, but what we're announcing here today will have a positive and lasting impact on our military heroes and their families every day, every year. Sudden transfers and moves are part of military life. Moving is stressful, and not just for the service member or the veteran, but for the entire family. Adding to the stress is the need for the spouse or other family member to find work in their new communities. The plan that we're detailing today will help many military families adapt to their new homes in Michigan by eliminating hurdles and bureaucratic red tape associated with transferring professional occupational licenses from one state to the other. Healthcare professionals, skilled trades experts, real estate agents, and many other licensed professionals will be able to find work and resume their careers more quickly if this plan becomes law. And they won't face the fees that are associated with new licensing or registration, including the application fee. This is a good plan for our military families, many of whom will be able to start their new lives more quickly and seamlessly because of this legislation. It's a good plan for the Michigan communities that will be strengthened by their presence. And it's a good plan for our economy, which will benefit from highly skilled workers filling high-demand jobs more quickly. I would like to thank the governor and the other legislators that are here with me today. This is a great example of how we can come together to accomplish a good for the common purpose of making Michigan an even better place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Orlean Hawks, the Director of the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. What a great way to honor our military personnel and their families on this day before Veterans Day with this proposed package of bills. I am humbled today to stand as a LARA Director with our governor and our colleagues here as we roll out this important initiative. The legislation today is a meaningful step that we are taking to acknowledge those individuals and families who have served our country and recognize the talent that they bring to our state. Our department licenses and regulates nearly 2 million entities and individuals. This includes multiple programs that are governed under various public acts, including occupations under the Occupational Code, the Public Health Code, and the Skilled Trades Act. Under Governor Whitmer's leadership, this administration has worked to make our state a great place for our veterans and active duty military personnel to live and to work. Within LARA, we have already partnered with Michigan Veterans, Armed Forces, and workforce organizations to provide licensing resources to those who are interested in the professions that we regulate. Examples of occupations that a service member, veteran, or their dependents could apply for, including plumbers, electricians, accountants, real estate, builders, professional engineers, medical directors, physician assistants, registered nurses, psychologists, social workers, and the list really goes on and on and on. In addition to the bills that our legislative sponsors have already spoken about today, LARA is also making a commitment to process completed license applications from our military personnel and/or their dependents within 48 hours. Like many families across the state and that we've heard about here today, my family as well has a history of military service. I look to my father-in-law as a key member and also a person that I look up to, and he served in the armed forces. That is why I am proud that LARA has been recognized as a veteran-friendly employer committed to military recruitment, training, and retention practices. Thank you, Governor Whitmer, for your leadership on this important initiative. I look forward to working with Director Adams, our legislative partners, my other colleagues, our stakeholders, and on this important issue to make sure that this initiative becomes law. Michigan is and will continue to be a place that honors those who have given so much for our country. I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Zaneta Adams, Director of the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, but more importantly, I'm a veteran and the spouse of a veteran as well. And so I understand the many barriers and obstacles that military members and their families face when transitioning out of the military, because I not only experienced many of those issues, but I also see those issues in my daily work as the director of the agency. It's important because we need to break down barriers that veterans face in employment, education, healthcare, and quality of life, making Michigan a great place for veterans and their families to call home. Now, the introduction of this bipartisan legislation and partnership shows our commitment, as well as the commitment that Governor Whitmer and the state of Michigan has made to ensure our veterans receive the benefits and opportunities they earned for having served our country. I'm continually proud of the collective work being done to bring military families to Michigan and keep them here. Thank you for your service. Happy Veterans Day, and happy birthday to the Marines. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Major General Paul Rogers. I'm the Adjutant General for the state of Michigan. I'm also the Director for the Department and Military and Veterans Affairs. So on behalf of all veterans and on behalf of the military, I'd just like to thank everybody involved with this initiative. I specifically want to thank Governor Whitmer and her leadership, the entire state of government team within this administration, and all legislators for supporting veterans and service members across this state and across the nation. There's one thing that service members know, and that they will move every 2 or 3 or 4 years. They will move from location to location, from city to city, from base to base. That is a true commitment by that service member, but it's also a burden from the family members. So the spouses that are seeking employment while they're supporting their service member are disrupted every time they move. The reciprocity and the ability to move into the state of Michigan and not lose your professional career is so crucial to our families. We recruit service members, but we retain families. And I want to say that again. We recruit service members, but we retain families. Service members are able to serve because their family is cared for and they have the love and support of that family. So when spouses can maintain their professional advancement and move with their service member, that is so crucially important. So once again, on behalf of service members and veterans, I compliment the state of Michigan for this initiative. This will help Michigan compete for further Department of Defense investments in the state of Michigan, and it makes all of our families stronger. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Karen Sims. I am the Deputy Commander of the Michigan Army National Guard Medical Detachment. Today is an amazing day to think about where this legislation goes. Understanding that our service members are highly trained personnel that bring a wealth of experience to the table, along with those service members are the families that come with them. It is inspiring to know that strategies are being implemented, making it easier to apply this equivalent to civilian professional occupations for our veterans and the families. Our military community will greatly benefit from all that is being done to streamline the requirements for licensure. Being in the medical field, it is refreshing to know that our governor is supportive of us and recognizes the current regulations were barriers to bringing and maintaining talent in Michigan. This is very amazing, and our medical professionals and all those others that are in their respective occupations are going to greatly benefit. Thank you.
So thank you to everyone who participated. This has got to be all hands on deck, great effort, and I'm glad to be here with all of you. And I want to extend my congratulations to Senator Olier and his family, who welcomed a new member of their family in the last 9 days, I understand. And I think it's a wonderful reminder that even in the midst of all the challenges that we're confronting, there are wonderful spots of great hope and brilliance. So congratulations. With that, happy to open it up for some questions.
All right, great. We don't have a lot of time for questions, but we'll get to as many as we can. So the first question will come from Tim Skubic.
Governor, with your permission, a two-part question. One, on this issue, are there any background checks of these people coming into the state so that you weed out the bad actors who may have done bad in another state and now they're coming into Michigan? And the second part is quickly, as you know, a joint committee of the House and Senate are subpoenaing records on alleged voter fraud in Michigan. I need your comment on that as to whether you think it's a witch hunt or not.
So with regard to the reciprocity for veterans, the requirements are that they be duly licensed in another state. And so there certainly are aspects to background checks that is a part of what this legislation contemplates. So we feel good about that in terms of ensuring that we're really creating an opportunity for people and not just simply fast tracking things, but doing it in a very responsible way. Second, with regard to some of the events of the last few days, here's what I know. In Michigan, we had a full, fair, and secure election with very little drama. I am pleased to have seen that our state turned out at rates of voting that we haven't seen since 1960. It's really a Herculean effort that shows even in the midst of a pandemic, we can observe, protect, and ensure the fundamental rights of being an American, and that is the right to choose our leadership. People of Michigan, as the people across the country have spoken, and I offer my heartfelt congratulations to President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris.
Okay, great, Governor. The next question will come from Ben Henry with Home TV.
Hi, Governor. Two-part question as well. My first question has to do with President-elect's plan to fight the pandemic. Do you believe that the plan is going to be, it's obviously going to be hard, but do you think it's going to be harder given that states have their own control and some states are fine not issuing mask mandates? And the second part to that is the legislation to start counting ballots on election day, that legislation has a clause, so it wasn't made permanent. Could you see that becoming a permanent thing after last week?
So Tim Skubik's bad habits are rubbing off on everyone. So we're not doing this two-part question where they're totally unrelated questions going forward. However, I will indulge you. With respect to the COVID plans for the Biden administration, I am very pleased that they have moved right out of the blocks with a plan to get our arms around COVID-19. This has been a long, hard experience for the United States of America because our leadership did not have a national strategy. The fact that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris ran on getting their arms around this virus should surprise no one, that they've come out of the blocks announcing a task force that is going to make that platform into a policy agenda so that on day one, we can get started as a nation. I am just sorry that it doesn't actually have day one until the end of January because time is of the essence. COVID-19 is growing fast across this country. We see lots of communities spread all across the United States. The nation that should arguably be leading the world response to COVID-19 has lagged the rest of the world. And we've seen so many people lose their battle with COVID or lose their jobs to COVID And that's why I think it's really important that the Biden administration is moving so quickly and taking this so seriously. And he's already certainly given a number of speeches on that. And I do believe that one of the most important speeches that Joe Biden has given was given on Saturday, when he acknowledged he's going to be a president for all Americans, not for Americans in certain states and not others, but for all Americans. And I think that's really important. We must rally as a nation to our common enemy, to take on our common enemy, and that is COVID-19. So I'm confident he will work closely with governors of many different states, of all different states, to put us in a much stronger position and to save lives and to mitigate the pain that we're feeling economically. With regard, I can't remember what the second part of the question was now, Emily.
It was about the clause in the Senate bill that
Oh, yes,
allowed
permitting
counting
clerks to start the processing early. I am hopeful that we can codify that so that that is a policy that lasts long after this election. We recognize that, it's really important that we make it easy for people to vote, but it's also important we give our clerks tools that they need to get that vote counted. And whether it is a municipal clerk or a township clerk or some of the hard work that was going on in our county offices, our clerks did phenomenal work. And they are Republican, they are Democratic. At the end of the day, they serve us all, and we need to give them additional tools so that they can do their job well. We saw how different policies impacted different states. I was pleased we were able to get our count done as quickly as we did. However, I recognize that there's room for improvement, and codifying that would be one step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Okay, Governor, the next question will come from Riley Beggin with Bridge Magazine.
Hey, Governor. So cases are obviously skyrocketing of COVID here. Do you expect a new stay-at-home order soon? And if so, what would that look like?
So yeah, Riley, you're right. Our cases have been increasing exponentially. We have over 6,400 today reported, and that includes 84 deaths. This is very serious, and as scary as the spring was, these numbers are worse than what we were seeing in the spring. And we are seeing our hospitals start to fill up. We are working very closely with our local departments of public health and the administrators of our hospital systems. I'm doing outreach with our legislature. I would love to have partnership where we can take the politics out of this moment and do everything we can to save lives here in Michigan and mitigate the harm that we're feeling economically. All of that is important. And in terms of what a possible next steps will look like, I am having ongoing regular conversations with the Department of Health and Human Services. Is the epidemic powers that are vested in the director that are the source of our ability to make statewide policy at this juncture with the confusing state Supreme Court decision that came out. We still have a mask mandate. We still have limitations on gatherings. But as we get ready for the holidays, every one of us is going to have a plan and think long and hard about how we keep our families safe. And I know it's hard. No one loves Thanksgiving more than I do. And I love to host and have the whole family come together. We're not going to do it this year because it's just too dangerous. And it's hard. And this has been a long, tough year for a lot of us, for most of us, probably for every single one of us, actually. And yet we're not through it yet. And so extending a little grace to one another, supporting one another, and trying to stay close to our families in lieu of those big holiday gatherings is really going to be important for all of us.
Okay, Governor, we've just got time for a couple more. So the next question will come from Eric Lloyd with TV 9 and 10.
Hello, Governor. Two questions, but they're on the topic. Are there any numbers on how many military members leave the state for these kind of jobs that we could be maintaining? And then are there nearby states that already have these options already that are attracting our military members?
So I can say generally when it comes to reciprocity, there are states that have some more lenient policies that have given them a competitive advantage, and that's what we're trying to level here, especially when it comes to our service members. I don't have specific numbers for you, Eric, but I'm looking at the director of Laura and confident we can follow up with you if we can get our arms around some numbers for you and share them with you.
Okay, and the last question will come from Paula with WDIV.
Hi, Madam Governor, and just like everybody else, I have two questions, but they're on topic.
Okay.
The first one is, do you have a status update at all on the rapid test pledge by the White House, and what are your plans for Thanksgiving? You're urging others to be circumspect in what they do. Let us know what you're going to do as well, please, and thank you.
I appreciate the question. I don't have a status update for you at this moment, but we will have a press conference on Thursday. I'll be joined by Dr. J, and we will make a point of giving an update on that front. So I appreciate the question. We will follow up. And in anticipation of that, if others in the press want to share things that they're most interested in, we will do our best to try to cover them in our remarks, but certainly in the Q&A. My Thanksgiving plans, usually I host. I love to cook. I love to bring the whole family together. My sister, who is we're very close, she's going to stay in New York with her family. We're going to do a Zoom call and cook together. We'll watch the Lions at 2:30, just my household. Or I'm sorry, at 12:30 the Lions play, and then we'll do some sort of a Zoom kickoff to our Thanksgiving dinners that are happening remotely, but we're going to try to stay together that way. And I hope people who are listening will try to creatively think about how to stay together. I think it's important to reiterate, if there's more than one household in an enclosed space without ventilation, meaning windows open, for any period of time, it's just inherently dangerous. If it's more than two households, the danger increases exponentially. And that's why we encourage people to really think that way as you make your plans for the holidays. And if you come up with some good suggestions about how to connect with your relatives but do so safely, I'm all ears. I'd love to share those with other people in Michigan who are trying to stay safe, show support and love for their loved ones, but keep one another safe. So please share those on our social media. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, everybody.